Welcome to the Coach's Preview Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Very happy to have my special guest here today, Coach Ron Crawford, Brentwood High School, Coach Donnie, Webb, Franklin High School. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here.
Obviously, tonight's game is a big region matchup. It's our WCTV game of the week, but really one of the traditional rivalry games in WCS. We talked about this a little bit before we came on air. Brentwood, Ravenwood obviously gets a lot of attention as a big rival, Franklin Centennial. But to me, when I look at this still has a lot of luster too. Would you agree, Coach Crawford?
I think for old timers, I guess you're now in that. I know I am. You're heading that way. I guess for that we played against each other so many times early in Donnie's tenure there and early in my tenure at Brentwood that it just, which meant we were both pretty good. We were in the same league, playing in the playoffs, and then when I returned in 2015, we were in separate leagues, but it was a game that had to be played, right? Oh. And it's just always been, for me personally, it's been a fun rivalry because the respect and admiration across the field, and I think our kids have handled it great as far as good, hard-nosed, tough game, but I've always thought it was a clean game. There's always going to be something when you got teenagers banging heads, but I mean, I've always felt like it was a hard-fought game, and when it was over, both teams handled themselves as good as can be expected in that situation.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you take it back to last year when you put those two teams and they battled their hearts out. It was a really good football game, and then the lights go out. And two kids just shaking hands, helping each other. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like Coach said, it's intense because of the rival part of it, and they want to beat each other, but there's so much respect for each other as well.
And coaches, I noticed this, and Coach Crawford, I didn't tell you this, and I saw the same thing when Franklin Centennial played. I watched both of those games, Franklin Centennial, Brentwood, Ravenwood. After your game at home, and you may not even be aware of this, obviously your team was excited and when the game was won, and I saw your coaches going out of their way to say, get in line, let's line up and shake hands first, let's do that thing first. Students, y'all back up. I thought that was pretty neat because really, I mean, you get it, kids are excited, but I saw several of your coaches sort of get that lined up. You have to be proud of it. Did you even know that?
Well, that was one of the things that we always want to do, man. Even when you're disappointed, I think that the right way for us to model it as coaches, and you're a coach as well, is to, do your best to get the competitive side out and be able to congratulate your opponent, even when you don't feel like it. It's a good life lesson, as you know, and we've gone sideways at times, but I mean, I think most of us want to teach our kids the right way to behave, and that was important to me, and it's one of the things that I had wanted to keep that rivalry. Donnie and I have been in some intense rivalries at different places, and I wanted to keep that rivalry. And I want to get it like Brentwood Franklin, I think, and where it's just so much mutual respect and I think the teams, usually the kids are okay. It's usually the student bodies
without a doubt.
And the adults. So I think, thank you for noticing that, and it was important for me personally. So I'm glad that our kids did that.
Coach Webb, let me ask you this. I think maybe for you guys, and I was so surprised to see this when I did my research here, that as head coaches, at least at Brentwood Franklin, and maybe Henry County was different, this is only the 5th matchup with you guys being head coaches. I consider you obviously two of the deans of the league in terms of coaching, but going back to your days even as coordinators at Riverdale, Oakland, it's really, you've matched up tons of times, not just 5. You've got a history.
Yeah. I guess we just like being in Middle Tennessee. and we've been fortunate. We've been to some good places, man. It was them Oakland, Riverdale, games where some of those other schools weren't even there at that time. And so that was such an intense rivalry. And then now here, the growth of the other schools in years is kind of pushing where the rivalries are. But it's really almost turned into, if you're playing a Williamson County school, that atmosphere is there. But when you're talking about the kids and they expend so much energy afterwards, they're all exhausted because they play. I mean, I told mine after practice the other day, I was a little frustrated with some things we were doing, what we thought was wrong. But I said, I know you're going to play hard Friday night, but we got to do it right here.
Yeah. Coach, go ahead, Coach.
No, I think so too, and it just feels like we've been doing this versus each other so long. But I mean, I know his family and he knows mine, and so it's been a quality rivalry, and one I think we've both tried to handle the right way.
I went back and looked at some history. Obviously, you guys weren't involved in all of these games, but the last, at least since 2001, Brentwood leads the series 15-10. You've played 6 times in the playoffs. That's 3-3. Coach, you're 12-8 as the head coach at Brentwood against Franklin. Coach Webb 4-3, 2-2 head-to-head. Now, something that really stood out to me was some of those playoff games. You guys win it in 2002. The only 2 losses Franklin had was to Brentwood. So I'm sure Franklin looked at that and said, man, we were close. Maybe that could have been us. 2004, Franklin goes all the way to the final. Same thing. Franklin beats you in a close one in the playoffs. So when you guys play, whether it's regular season, postseason, it just seems to matter.
It really has. You know, the playoff games have been really exciting. You know, I think all of them have been close. You know, even at times it didn't feel close, I guess, when you're on the other sideline. But you know, for whatever reason, we don't know. It's been a close game, and it'll be. I'd be surprised if it's not another one that comes down to the wire on Friday, man. It's just the way we seem to play each other, and like Coach said, man, I think both teams are going to play extremely hard, and you know, it's just going to boil down to who can make the fewest mistakes, and all the cliches will really be true in this one.
No doubt, and then there'll be some play that happens that will mark the game too. Yep. You know, we can go through all of them. That was the year of this play, or et cetera.
Maybe we need to start doing that, like naming it.
The Phantom punt return.
Yeah, I knew that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Casey Dykes, right? That's what I was thinking.
Casey Dykes.
When was this, Coach?
7, 8, 6. Man, it's been so many. It was a regular season game, and we were like 0-3 or 1-3, and we were in dire straits, and actually probably that excited our team. You know, we Casey kind of gave a wave to someone in the end zone and caught it, and our guys started walking off, and Casey didn't move, looked at the officials, and one of them went like that, and he just kind of started jogging, and then he scored, and then I got a couple of penalty flags thrown at me, but they did not enforce them.
I didn't remember
that. They did not enforce them, and so that was the one. I'm sure he's got another one, but that was one of my favorites.
Well, it's interesting you both thought of that one.
That's what was in my mind. That's one that always comes up.
Let me ask you about tonight's game, and maybe I'm just a novice at football here, but one of the things I think I've noticed at least, I noticed this at the college level and the high school level too, coming off a bye week, and you both are, to me, that might make this an even better game because you're rested, maybe you've healed up some injuries, because you look at teams, a lot of times where that bye takes place can impact, you know, if you don't have a bye for a few weeks and you just had one, but you both have, which I think is going to make for a even better game. Am I right about that? Potentially? Give me something, Coach.
Well, I mean, what's ironic about it was made because of scheduling.
Right.
You know, I mean, Coach and I know it was tougher on him than it was us going through the scheduling process. We just was trying not to play on fall break, and I mean, football at Brentwood and football at Franklin is the lifeline of that, the bloodline of that
no doubt.
Athletic program and school, and you need that home gate, and so we both blocked it off, and you know it worked for. I remember you texted me and said we look like we're the smart ones when the date started moving.
Coach, that was nice of you since it's a Franklin home game. He better do that next year.
Well,
right?
we still have it blocked off.
Yeah,
so we've got those 2 weeks. We've got, you know, so we had thought it's usually that second or third week in October. And my principal was like, I can guarantee you. And I kept trying to talk him into it. Whoever told him was right. So Kevin was wrong. But yeah, it worked out good. And I think for us, you know, we look at it. We start counting our weeks of practice planning immediately after the dead period. Mm-hmm. So when I did practice plans for the week, it's week 13. So it was a good, you know, I think it was good for everybody to have kind of take a breath, have a few days off, and just kind of, we gave ours, you know, just get away from us. And
how many days, Coach? That was going to be one of my next questions.
We practiced Tuesday. We did not. That was it. We let them go after Tuesday.
We were very similar. We worked out Monday and practiced Tuesday. I mean, we went to the field Monday, but basic practice was Tuesday.
Let's talk a little bit more about your teams. Coach Crawford, I'll start with you on the offensive end. Granzow, who I know you love. We talk about him all the time, Tate and I do, is maybe the most dynamic quarterback in Williamson County because of his ability to pass and run. My question to you is this, what kind of decision-making do you give him? Because it seems like to me, again, the novice, he goes up to the line and based on what's happening, some decisions are made whether you're going to pass or run, or at least it looks that way, which makes him hard to defend.
Well, we've got, I think there's some good quarterbacks in our league, number one, so that's for sure. But we're a run-pass option-based offense, so when you do that, you're putting the decision-making in your quarterback's hands, and so he's got the ability to read a key and decide, do I give, or is that key telling me to let the ball go and to throw it? So when we started doing this, we realized you can't second-guess him because we put it in his hands.
Yeah.
I think there's things he feels comfortable with, and we ask him about it, and it dominates us. Our plan is Donnie sees film, so it dominates what we do, even when he's the only one back there. So we have, and we think it fits our personnel the best. It fits the type of kids we have in the offensive line. It fits our skill kids, and it gives it's a modern day triple option, I guess you would say. So that's basically what we're doing. So he's done a great job at it. You also have to live through the nights when he makes bad decisions.
Right.
But we coach him.
Yeah.
So it behooves us to really school him up really, really well. And obviously, like all those kids that play the position, they want to win. They want to be successful. They don't want to do things to hurt their team. So hopefully all of us, value the football intensely. And, Donnie and I having such a defensive background, we understand how that punt is a good play. So he's done a great job for us. I think last year's, we haven't done this year's stats as far as cumulative. Last year on our RPOs, he was 79% completion rate. So, anytime you can get that, it's been really, really big to us, and we're kind of a dink and dunk team to get it down the field. And we just view that really as an extension of our run game.
Well, as his experience has grown, obviously you're becoming even more confident. I was going to ask you, though, about that pass he made to Merrill. It was just like a sling pass. I know you didn't call that.
Are you talking about the underhanded?
I think that made ESPN, or at least they were trying to get it on there.
No. Good job. Last year when your team would shoot way out there, good job. So I think that's what became it. I think you have to let a playmaker be a playmaker, and then obviously not hurt your football team in the same breath. So not a lot was said about it other than smiled and moved on and tried to clean that up a little bit.
Coach, talk about the challenges that Granzow brings you guys defensively.
The number one part of it is trying to stay gap sound, but still, because same thing, they watch film and we like to connect our outside linebacker as part of the slant, and like when we played them last year, we would disconnect him a lot, and so you'd come up a gap short when you start trying to fit the zone and that part of it. And then I knew it was high percentage. I didn't know exactly what it, he's almost hitting 80% of them, so it forces you to decide when you're going to bring the full slant or are you going to disconnect and try to stay underneath the RPOs. It's because we're not a man team, we're a zone team, and so very similar in a lot of the schematics of the way we line up, same way Coach does at Brentwood. And so you've got to account for those guys, and so now how are we going to fit all the gaps for the run part of it?
Coach Crawford, again, talking a little bit more about your offense. Obviously, Granzow's a name we hear about a lot, Walker Merrill and what he does as a wide receiver. But talk about Stone Roston and the big boys up front. They mean a lot to your offense, too.
Oh, no doubt. We've, taken Stone, who really I think most linemen would love to be defensive linemen. And he's a guy that we, because of it, we've been spoiled the last 2 years having an athletic center that could handle, there's so many odd fronts now, handle noses. And so we got Stone in there, and he was doing fine, but we just really needed to shore up at offensive tackle, so we popped him out to tackle. He's still learning it, but he's playing well. He's what every coach wants to have, regardless of the sport. He's a kid that'll just get in there and do his absolute best, and he wants to do well, and he's unselfish. So anytime you can get those guys, man, it's hard not to love them each and every day, and you really want to have the opportunity to bring those kids to the forefront and brag on them. and he just expects none of that, And I've had from college coaches, even guys that are FCS that have given him preferred walk-on status. Had one college coach tell me, I just want him around our team.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think what a great compliment to him and his parents,
Yeah.
It is. Coach Webb, let's talk about you guys offensively. You were a team that early on in the year we were talking about struggling a little bit to score, and now it almost seems like when you made that switch that you've become a pretty dynamic offense. 511 yards against Centennial, and I would argue that if you, and you'd probably agree with me here, I hope, that if you started the season with Nichols back there, it might not look like it does now. Because of the way Guy played as the quarterback and what he was doing, it's almost made Josh more effective coming in. Would you agree with that?
I know where you're going with that statement, and I agree with the part of it. I've said it, I don't know, I made a decision. We need Guy Lipscomb to have the football. Mm-hmm. And I believe in option football and trying to run the triple option. And it became a point when we played, it was Summit's who it was, and their quarterback players were just standing on the line waiting on him. And so we could never get all parts of the aspect of the triple going. And so that's when we went in, it was the Independence Week, and said we've been practicing Josh, and I hats off to Josh, man. He hung in there and went down and blocked as a tight end, and it slid him back to quarterback, and so basically became RPO option that way on the other part. But let's be honest, it's finding ways to get Guy Lipscomb the ball. He's good at football. I think I said this the last time that we were on here, is as coaches we always say, man, I wouldn't trade this one, I'd trade that one. I think people would say, man, I'd like to have Guy Lipscomb on my football team.
Yeah, I think they would too.
He's a good athlete, good player, and a great kid.
Talk about Kirkpatrick. John, we talk about him obviously defensively, but his name keeps coming up offensively, especially in those short yardage situations. I think 5 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, he's basically our biggest back that we have. But where he is unbelievable. He's going to play on Saturday somewhere, snapping the football. I know there's a lot of good ones in this county, but man, he's really, really talented at it. But yes, he's when we were at Independence and it was second and go, I said, Coach Holcomb and I were talking. Said, you got 220-pound back, we can't get it in. And so we just kept giving it to him, and he's done well there. Let's
talk about something you guys really want to talk about, defense. Which is, I know you love to talk. Howard and Ambrose are obviously two guys you talk about at Brentwood, but something that stood out to me, Coach, giving up 12 points a game. Your defense is 21's the high. That was at Henry County, and I was really impressed. And I don't mean this disrespectful at all. I mean this respectfully. When I watched the Brentwood Ravenwood game and I saw them come out on offense and you come out on defense, I thought if you'd have told me that they would have scored 14 points, I would have said, I don't know about that. But you guys, it's obvious that you've got some juice defensively.
Well, we've got some experience over there, and we're just not built like I guess typically you would be. But we've got guys that are bought in, they're playing hard, and if you can if you have a chance to, if you do that and you can execute, then you have an opportunity to be successful. So I think I'm proud of the way we've played with so much energy and passion. In particular, after having a couple of veterans that have been injured and no longer able to play, so we've had to put some guys in their stead, and we've not really dropped off very much, and so it's been fun. Zaire and Sterling, our inside backers, have done and Will Laughlin have done a great job, and it kind of filters into the middle. There's the guys that should be making tackles, and they've done a good job with it. So yeah, it's been a gratifying year as far as man. It's fun to watch when your team plays with heart and passion and energy. It's fun to watch, and sometimes we're in physical mismatches that you can't do anything about. So all you can do is continue to play hard. So I'm really proud of the way we've played, and we've kept stuff in front of us, made people drive the football. So far so good. I think that we face another challenge tonight with big offensive lineman that Franklin has, dynamic running back who also doesn't look like it, but he plays with power. He also has deceptive speed when you watch him on film, get into your back end and outrun folks. And again, I'm proud for his quarterback for doing the things that his team needed him to do early in the season, and now getting back to the position that he's in. You got to have respect for that opponent that does that, because it's hard to do. And so I'm sure Coach is proud of it. And we have a lot of respect for him doing that, man, because we know how it is. We have to ask kids to do that time and time too. And like Coach said, you make a decision and you think it's what's best. And, but they've also now scored 28, 38, and 42. So, they found something that's really good, and another way to get number 2 the ball. So we're going to try to find number 2 as best we can.
That's not breaking news, by the way. Coach Webb, talk about your defense. So going into that Centennial game, the thing you said over and over, we have to tackle better. And I know the score was high that night. A lot of it was the nature of the game, of course, going to a couple overtimes. Were you pleased with the improvements your team made that night tackling?
For the most part, yes. That one kind of got wild. I mean, it was, obviously it got wild to get to 42, 41, but there was 2 different points in the game where it felt like we blumbled it away,
And it wasn't the fault of the defense.
The turnover,
Yep.
and then it pops off the kid's head and goes straight into the end zone. I mean, it's like, gosh. And we didn't react well to that, because then we turned right around and had the sack and fumbled there. So it was like 2 little quick turnovers. But some of that's youth, not a whole lot of experience over there. And they don't, if things going well, we always talk about, hate to say, we don't want to be front runners, but at the same time, you want to see that passion all the time, and because if things are going well, I think we're starting to play a lot better. We just got to be able to fight through those adversity times, and heck, I think they did. Last week, I mean, hung in there. We could have, especially the way it ended so quickly, and the first overtime, we really did play really good defense. And then we tip a ball and it lands in the back. I mean, it was starting to look like, oh my gosh, nothing's going to happen for us. But one thing about it is we were able to move the football, and in that 10 yards, we felt like we'd get the 10 every time. So if we get a stop, we'd have a shot.
Kirkpatrick on the defensive side, too, leads your team in sacks and tackles for a loss. He's only behind, I think, Elijah Johnson in terms of total tackles. So he's playing well for you defensively, too.
Oh, without a doubt. He's a great kid. He's a good leader. He's in the weight room all the time, and he's the one we're turning to, to get the younger kids, because the weight room's so important. Elijah can be as good as he wants to be. It's because he's got a little speed that we don't have a whole lot of. And we moved him down to a down safety, try to get him closer to the action to move a little bit, and so he's still learning through that. But the inside backer that I'm really proud of is Isaiah. He doesn't make a lot of tackles, 37, but he's new to us. He transferred in here, and he plays so hard, and he's going to be a really, really good player as we keep moving forward.
Coach Crawford, both of you guys, really 2 of the best kickers in the league. And you guys talk about, this has been a close game. Maybe it comes down to the kickers. I think both of you would be confident. Thomas Day for you guys, Ian Burr for Franklin.
We feel like we got 2. Thomas is kind of taking over our field goal duties because Tabor Miller got hurt.
Yep.
But Tabor's done a great job of punting. We've still only had to tackle a return man twice. This year we've been back and forth on our kickoff. Are we confident we can kick it in end zone, or we're not confident? So we've had to scheme that up a little bit more. So, that's one thing. I think Walker has given us a punt returner now that Walker Merrill has given us a punt returner that now I think people have to look and see where he's at, and hopefully we can affect punting by doing that. Finally, we've got a returner after 5 years back. We finally got one that we think when he gets it in open space, he's got a chance to do something with it.
And I've seen him dunking a basketball, by the way.
He's
He can get up.
pretty athletic kid. Yeah, he's
Coach Shirley trying to get him to come out and play.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a JV player. I'm like, come on, Coach Shirley. You guys JV? I think he's got to get like a 39-inch vertical or something, just right under mine. So that part's helped us. And in Williamson County, we've all got kickers, man. It's amazing that happens.
But you got two of the best. You do.
We do,
and three when you're talking about
and
Taylor.
the snappers on top of that. You know, our trainer, athletic trainer Kayla Glenn, her boyfriend's long snapper for the Titans, and I'm like, it's a pretty good way to play NFL football, man, is to be a long snapper, and you can have a long career. So Carson Dreyer's been our long snapper for 2 years and done a great job for us at that position. He takes pride in it, really likes it, and they're always prepared special teams wise. You know, Coach Curtis does a great job. They've changed a few things, and man, when you got somebody you can just turn it over to, it feels great as a head coach. We hired Josh Scroggins from Florida. And Punt's my baby, but he's got all the others. And I told him, if you get special teams at Brentwood High School, we'll desert you, man. we'll let you go, and we'll go on break. So he's finding that to be very true.
Yeah. Coach, talk about Ian and your special teams overall.
Oh, Ian's been
a leader too, right?
Oh, yeah. If someone breaks out, he's going to the sideline to try to like not take their head off, and I'm going, he's the only kicker we have right now. Calm down. You know, he's constantly coming to me, put me in over here at the slot. I can do this, you know, because when we're in offense and defense, he'll go with the quarterbacks and catch routes from them, you know. And he's a really, really good athlete. He plays soccer as well. And but I tell him all the time, calm down and just kick it and quit worrying about trying to make the tackle.
Well, and I appreciate as the athletic director, and I've obviously believed in this as a coach, and I know you two guys do too. I love it that you mentioned the multi-sport guys, because I think that's important. And you guys obviously believe in it, both of you.
And I think for us at our school, and you now that you're in your role, you've gotten to be around all the schools, is that we've got a great relationship with our basketball coach. I've got a great relationship with our baseball coach, wrestling coach, track coaches on my staff. So, I mean, that's a fun situation when you're kind of all rowing the boat in the same direction and supporting each other. That's really, really positive.
Coach, I know we've talked about it.
Oh, without a doubt. What I always tell you, the hardest part is finding them a way to get them in that weight room, you know, because when they're off in the other sports, and we all have to do a better job as a school. They may have it already, is getting on that same boat of if we're all in understanding this is important too, it all takes care of everything. And without a doubt, it's the best thing for the kid.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys being here. This has been fun. I wish we had 20 more minutes. Looking forward to the game tonight.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.